This episode of Harvey Brownstone Interviews is brought to you by the Harvey Brownstone Talk Show Blend Coffee, available at hollywoodblends.com. Everyone's saying it's the best coffee they've ever tasted. Why not give it a try and see for yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today's special guest is a highly popular and beloved Oscar-nominated, multi-award-winning actress, writer, producer, and director who has been dazzling audiences for over 60 years. We all remember her portrayal of the quintessential Jewish mother, Sylvia Fine, Fran Drescher's mother, on the hit TV series The Nanny, for which she received an Emmy Award nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series. But her stellar career and body of work extend far beyond that popular show. On Broadway, she starred in 3 plays that she also wrote: Lovers and Other Strangers, It Had to Be You, and If You Ever Leave Me, I'm Going With You, which she wrote and directed. And she was nominated for an Academy Award along with her beloved husband, Joe Bologna, for co-writing the 1970 movie Lovers and Other Strangers. She and Joe also wrote and starred in the 1971 movie Made for Each Other, which earned them a nomination for a Writers Guild of America Award for Best Comedy. And they wrote and directed the wonderful 1989 film It Had to Be You, based on their Broadway show. They also co-directed and co-starred in Love Is All There Is, and who can ever forget our guest as Ava Braun in Mel Brooks' classic 1967 movie, The Producers. She also appeared on the big screen in The Detective, A New Leaf, Last of the Red Hot Lovers, Lovesick, White Palace, Delirious, Boynton Beach Club, The Do-Over, How to Be a Latin Lover, and many more great movies. On television, besides The Nanny, you've seen her in dozens of shows, including St. Elsewhere, 30-something, Daddy Dearest, Dream On, Everwood, Law and Order SVU, How I Met Your Mother, to name only a few. And she's appeared in numerous TV movies and miniseries, including A Match Made in Heaven, Pandemic, Weird Loners, and Bedrooms, which she and Joe Bologna co-wrote, co-directed, and co-starred in. She and Joe also co-wrote and co-starred in the 1974 TV movie Paradise, for which they received an Emmy Award nomination for Best Writing. And they won an Emmy Award for writing the brilliant TV movie Acts of Love and Other Comedies. And if all of that weren't enough, our guest is also a best-selling author of a very entertaining book entitled My Life on a Diet: Confessions of a Hollywood Diet Junkie. And a few years ago, she went on tour with her hilarious one-woman show called My Life on a Diet. I am delighted and honored to welcome the incomparable legend herself, Renée Taylor, to our show. Renée, thank you so much for being here.
You made me cry. I can't even talk now.
Well, you've done a lot in your career, and it brings me to tears too.
Too much.
Back in the 60s, you studied with Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio. Who were some of the other students you got to know there?
Marilyn Monroe.
What did you think of Marilyn?
I thought she was wonderful. I don't think people do her justice when they talk about her. She was very kind and vulnerable and funny, and she came to class because she just didn't get respect for herself as an actress, and she really wanted to deepen her commitment as an actress. And when she came in class, she was very vulnerable. When she first got up, she was shaking like a rabbit. She was so frightened. And it was very inspiring because she was a very big star. You know, recently I was in Palm Springs and they had a statue of her that people were very upset about. So it cost like something like $50,000 to move it because people thought it exploited her as a sex symbol. But I mean, she was a sex symbol and she was also an actress. I told them they could put a picture of me up as a sex symbol too, and they could exploit me. It got people to come into the museum, so it was a wonderful thing. I think people are a little too oversensitive about everything nowadays.
I couldn't agree more. Now, in the early 60s, you headlined at the Bonsoir nightclub in New York, and your opening act was a then unknown singer named Barbra Streisand. What were your impressions of her back then?
Well, when I heard her sing, I said to her, because she opened for me, I said, no, I should open for you. You're wonderful. And we began a lifelong friendship. But I really knew when she was 18 what a big star she was. And now she's in her 40s. I'm kidding. But anyway, she was always promising more. And she kept growing as an artist too, as a director, as an actress, as a singer. That's nice when you spend your whole career discovering more about yourself and blossoming.
Well, you've kind of done that too. You've had such an amazing diversity in the work you've done as an actress and a writer and director.
Well, that's what life is. It's about growing and exploring and having fun and remembering who you are. I think that's why we come on earth, is to remember who we are and keep opening that up, who we are.
In your first Broadway show, Renee, which was called Love, you worked with Gene Wilder, and then a little while later, the two of you got cast by Mel Brooks in The Producers. How did that happen?
Well, he came to see the show and he cast me as, oh, he asked me to audition for Eva Braun. And about, I don't know, 6 months before Sid Caesar died, we were at his house one night and Mel Brooks was there. And he said, did I ever thank you for playing Eva Braun? And I said, no. He said, I thank you now. He said, I remember your audition. You were one of 30 girls who came in to audition for Eva Braun. And he said, you did it with a New York accent. And I thought that was so funny. I had to hire you.
There you go. Even though that New York accent wasn't exactly what Tennessee Williams was looking for, was it?
When I auditioned for Tennessee Williams, I pretended that I was Southern because they were only seeing girls who had a Southern accent. And so I did 27 wagon loads of cotton. And I said, we were sitting on the porch, just swinging back and forth and back and forth. We didn't go out. We were awfully surprised when the syndicate fire broke out. And Tennessee Williams said to me, Miss Taylor, what part of New York are you from?
You should have said, I'm from the southern part. Your Broadway play, It Had to Be You, was produced by our very dear mutual friend, Julian Schlossberg, who recently appeared on our show. What was it like working with Julian? I just love the man.
Elaine May told me about him. She said, oh, he has a lot of integrity. And I said, don't all producers have integrity? And she said, no.
Boy, was she right. Well,
Yes.
he's got integrity and a whole lot of heart, too. I wonder, Renee, can you share any memories of working with John Candy and Delirious?
Oh, he was very funny. It was hard to keep a straight face when I was working with him. Everything he did was very funny. Just like Mel Brooks. It was hard not to laugh when you worked with him.
In 1993, you played Don Rickles' ex-wife and the mother of Richard Lewis in a very funny sitcom called Daddy Dearest, which was canceled after only 2 months. Do you think the network gave the show enough of a chance to find its audience?
I tell you, Don Rickles had trouble learning his lines. And his ad libs were so funny, and he would just do hours and hours of ad libs. If the show is ad libs, it would have been good. You know, when people do bloopers because they can't remember their lines, I don't find that funny. Everybody can not remember their lines, but to do them well, I think that's what counts.
Well, is that why the show was canceled?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I thought it was because of ratings.
No.
You've played the typical overbearing Jewish mother, not only in The Nanny, but also in the wonderful HBO series Dream On. Were you channeling your own mother, Frida?
No. My mother was very vulnerable. My mother was very sweet. My mother was, and when I play my mother, I play her very innocent. My mother was innocent.
Well, I read that your mother went to a psychic before you were born and she was told that you would be a famous star. Is that right?
Yes.
And she lived long enough to see you become a big star, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
She must have been so proud of you, Renee.
I guess so. I'm proud of my son. My son is a brilliant writer, director, actor. His name is Gabriel Bologna.
I'm well aware of your son, Gabriel Bologna. He's a writer, actor, and director. He's made some terrific movies, including Boston Girls, African Gothic, Tango Shalom, which won a whole slew of prestigious film festival awards. You and Joe were in Tango Shalom. It was Joe's last movie. I'm so happy for you that you get to have such joy in the success of Gabriel.
Thank you.
What was it like to be directed by your own son in Tango Shalom?
Well, he directed me in Boston Girls. He directed me in a horror movie, and he'd say, "Mom, be more scary." So he was great to work with.
Now, you started out on The Nanny as a guest star, and then Sylvia Fine became a recurring role. And then by season 3, you were a full-time cast member. That must have been so exciting to see the prominence of your character growing like that.
It was. It was so much fun. It was like a family. I still talk to Fran about once a week.
What was it like working with Steve Lawrence, who played your husband, Morty?
Oh, I was in Pal Joey with him years ago. He was a wonderful actor. I think he never got his due because he's such a good singer, but he was a wonderful actor.
It's true. Most people don't think of him as an actor. When they think of Steve Lawrence, they think of him and Edie Gourmet.
Right. She was a wonderful actress too.
I
They asked her to do Funny Girl, and she said only if he could play Arnstein, and he would have been great. And they said no. They
That's a
would have been
shame.
great together.
Now, your late husband, the wonderful Joe Bologna, appeared in The Nanny twice. Once in season 1 as a bully who torments Maxwell Sheffield, and then again in the last season as Dr. Joe Razzo, the man who steals Sylvia's heart. Did Joe have a good time on the show?
They asked him to play my husband originally. Fran called him up and said, "Would you play Renee's husband, my father, Morty?" And he said, "No, I'll play the man she has an affair with." And that's what he did.
Was there ever talk of giving you, as the Sylvia Fine character, your own spin-off series?
No, but that's a good idea.
I,
Luckily, I'm available now.
would you really do it if they offered it to you?
Sure, I'm going to be 92 in March.
But how old do you feel in your head?
33.
Okay, then let's do it. I think we need Sylvia Fine on TV every week, don't you?
Sure. And I'm available.
Well, that's a blessing. A number of years after The Nanny ended, you worked with Fran Drescher again in her sitcom called Happily Divorced. But this time, Rita Moreno played Fran's mother, and you played Rita Moreno's neighbor, Marilyn. The show was canceled after 2 seasons. What do you think went wrong?
It's hard to know. Sometimes a show is canceled because it's too good.
How can that be?
Sometimes people at meetings, people say, "I'm worried about this show. It's actually good."
And so you think that's what happened with that show?
Yeah, I think people like trash.
That's really tragic. That's even more reason why we need Sylvia Fine back on TV.
Okay. Well, give them my phone number.
I sure will. Now, you mentioned you've stayed good friends with Fran Drescher. Is there any truth to the rumor that she might be going into politics? Do you think she will?
I hope so. I tell her to. She could be governor, she could be president.
I think people misjudge her because of the way she laughs, don't you?
I don't think people misjudge her. I think people really respect her because what a wonderful job she did during the strike, how she stood up to all those moguls and told them that they were greedy. That was really great.
She really was a force of nature during the Screen Actors Guild strike, and she did show that she's got political leadership qualities, really.
She has a lot of courage.
Now, over the years, Renée, you and your dear husband, the wonderful Joe Bologna, wrote together, you acted together, you even directed together multiple times. So many married couples find it difficult to work together and still keep the love alive in the marriage. Was that a challenge for you and Joe?
No, because we always had a lot of humor. We would tell each other, I never want to see you again. You ruined my life. And he'd say, okay, but where do you want to have dinner?
You know, when we think of Joe, we don't think of him being that funny.
Really? He was very funny.
I always thought you were the funny one, and I've heard you say in at least one other interview that you believe that you and Joe were together in a past life. How do you know that?
Because when you meet somebody, you look in your eyes and you know you've been there before. I knew that I had met him many times before.
Did he feel the same way?
No.
But what did he say? If you believe it, it's good enough for me?
He'd say, whatever you say, dear.
Oh, no wonder the marriage was such a success. Whose idea was it for you and Joe to write together?
Mine.
But your name was always first. Whose idea was that?
His. He didn't want his name on at all. And I told him he had to take the blame with me for the scripts. But he said, but your name has to go first. And I said, why? And he said, because when there's a bullet, I can dodge it.
Well, there never were any bullets, so there was nothing to
Oh,
dodge.
yes, it was. I remember one time it was snowing and we ghost wrote a Broadway show and you weren't supposed to say who wrote it. And a reviewer said, I hear this show was written by Renée and Joe, and they're a married couple. It's a good thing they love each other because that's all they have. And I was crying. I said, that's all we have. And he said, if that's all we have, that's great.
What a fabulous guy.
Yeah.
Now, in 2005, you and Joe appeared in one of my favorite movies, Boynton Beach Club, co-starring Diane Cannon, Brenda Vaccaro, Sally Kellerman, and so many other great actors. You were hilarious as the woman on the cell phone. Did you have fun making that movie?
Yes, I did. I really did. That was a lot of fun. And Brenda Vaccaro had to smack me. And I said, really smack me? She said, no, no, I can't. I said, no, really smack me. And she smacked me so hard that I had like a red mark on my face.
I hope you didn't do more than one take of that scene.
Oh, that's all you had to do.
Well, over the years, you've appeared in a lot of comedies, Renée. And when I heard you interviewed on Julian Schlossberg's terrific podcast, Tales from Hollywoodland, you said that you don't think people know what's funny anymore. What did you mean by that?
I don't think people know what's funny anymore. On television, there would be a laugh track. Somebody would open a window and a laugh would come on. I'd say, what's funny about that?
Do you think that political correctness has killed comedy?
Yes, I absolutely do. I think people are too oversensitive about everything, about being woke, and if you can say this, if you can say that. That's ridiculous.
In 2013, you were directed by Tyler Perry in a movie called Temptation: Confessions of a Marriage Counselor. What was Tyler Perry like to work with?
He was wonderful. He was he didn't know who the hell I was. At the last minute, he got me because Jerry Stiller was supposed to play the part. and he talked to Lisa Vanderpump, and she said, hire Renee. She's the funniest person I ever met. So he hired me. He didn't know who I was. And when I came on the set, he said, oh, your manager asked me for so much money for you. And I didn't know who the hell you are. He said, but now that I see you, I'm going to give you double. So I called my manager and said, he's going to pay me double. And she said, no, people never do that. They pay you less. They never give you more. I said, no, that's what he said. So then I went to him and I said, my manager doesn't believe it. And he said, I'll write you a check right now. And he did.
Wow, that's got to be a first in show business, don't you think?
Yeah.
Now, Renee, you're the only guest on our show who has appeared on the Jack Paar show 23 times, which has to be some kind of a record, don't you think?
No, a lot of people were on 23 times.
Well, I haven't found too many, and I think Jack Paar was one of the greatest interviewers of all time. What did you think of him?
Yes, he was really. And then when he went off the show because they didn't like him saying WC for water closet, that was shocking then.
I think it's still a shock. That was enough to take him off the show?
Yeah. No, he quit because they censored him. So he quit.
Is it true that one of your first movie roles, The Errand Boy, resulted from meeting Jerry Lewis on the Jack Paar show?
Right. He said to me, if you ever come to Hollywood, look me up and I'll give you a part in my movie. So I flew there the next day. And I was waiting for him when he came to work. And I said, I'm here. And he said, oh, but there's nothing in the movie I'm doing now. And I said, well, you wrote it, didn't you? Just tear out 5 pages and write in 5 other pages. And he said, here, you tear it out. And I did.
Well, how did you know what 5 pages to tear out? That's amazing.
Anyone, it doesn't matter because that's what his movies were like. It didn't matter what it was. It was like the Marx Brothers.
And then he wrote you into the movie?
Yeah.
That is amazing. You also appeared on the Merv Griffin show 75 times. In fact, you and Joe even got married on the Merv Griffin show. What was Merv Griffin really like as a person?
Oh, he was just like he was on the show. He was a lot of fun. He was very open. And I'll never forget, he owned the most elegant hotel in Palm Springs. And I said to him, your hotel is so expensive. Can you get me a discount? And he fell off the chair laughing.
And did you get the discount?
No, he didn't give discounts.
A few years before the pandemic, you wrote and starred in a fabulous one-woman show called My Life on a Diet. I got to see you in Toronto. Did they ever make a film of you performing that show?
Yeah, they filmed it.
Is there any way we can see it? Is it available for the public?
Sure, just send in $29.95.
Well, I would have loved to see you play Sophie Tucker in a movie about her life. Would that have interested you?
Oh, yeah. I saw her in person.
You actually saw her perform?
Yes, when I was a little girl.
I wish they had created a movie or a play about her life because you would have been the perfect star. Don't you think you're a little bit like the last of the Red Hot Mamas?
No, I don't think I'm as sexy as she was.
Oh, I beg to differ. And Julian told me that you wrote a play about Mae West. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Did you star in the role?
Yes, I did. I did at the Actors Studio.
A lot of people don't know that you played Golda Meir even before Helen Mirren did in Los Angeles, I believe.
I did. That was wonderful to do that.
So tell me, Renee, about Any upcoming shows that you're at liberty to talk about?
Okay, well, I wrote a play about my husband and I called Dying is No Excuse. Because when my husband was dying, I said, what'll I do after you're gone? And he said, write a play about us and our relationship, and I'll help you. I said, how are you going to help me when you won't be here? And he said, Dying is No Excuse. And that's the name of it. And it's about how we met, how we fell in love, how we became successful, how we were married for 52 years, how we had a wonderful time, and how we still keep in touch.
Do you feel his presence with you?
I do.
And do you feel you can communicate with him and that he communicates with you?
I do.
So where can we see this play? Are you going to be doing it in New York?
It's going to be in the Berkshires at the Unicorn Theater in the spring. But before that, I'm going to appear at this theater in New York. It's called the West Bank Theater Cafe. And I'm going to be there. My birthday is March 19th. I'm going to be 92, but don't tell anybody or my career will be over.
God bless you. And what will you be doing in that show?
It's going to be an evening with Renée Taylor.
I cannot wait. I will definitely be there. And I also want to see you in the Berkshires.
Will you come down and see me?
I would love to. It's not very far from Toronto, and I would just love to come and see you and spend an evening with you. Are you going to take questions from the audience?
Yes.
Okay, can I give you my question in advance?
Yeah.
Because it's my last question in this interview, and it's this. Renée, when you were young, you really wanted to be a famous star, and you certainly achieved that. But when Julian Schlossberg interviewed you, you said that fame turned out not to be what you thought it would be. So let me ask you this. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back and talk to that young girl who wanted to be famous, what would you say to her?
I would say it's false. Fame is false. It's not anything real. And it's not what you think it is. You don't feel loved when you're famous. You think Judy Garland thought she was loved if thousands of people applauded her. No, you feel loved when you love somebody and they love you.
Well, when you look back at your life and your career, are you happy and fulfilled deep down inside with what you achieved?
When I remember who I am.
Well, who you are, not only a wonderful wife, a wonderful mother, a great friend, you're also a very beloved entertainer. Do you really get that deep down? That people love you?
Yeah, but you know who I really am is I'm just a person who loves people. That's who I am.
Well, Ms. Renée Taylor, it's been such a pleasure meeting you and having this chance to chat with you about your amazing life and career. Thank you for all the great entertainment you've brought us over the years. Thank you so much for taking the time to appear on our show, and I can't wait to see you in New York.
Yes, you're so lovely. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you so, so much. Our guest has been the incomparable force of nature, the legendary Renée Taylor. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time. Thank you to my producer, Steve Silver, my managers, Rick Marcelli and Robin Bragg Marcelli at the Marcelli Company in Hollywood, my director of programming, Robert Monaghan, my PR directors, Eileen Shapiro and Jimmy Starr, and my entire team at the XPTV1 network in the UK.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all the great interviews on the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted.